Hi everyone, I am Saket Bansal, and in this video I am sharing 10 questions on your PfMP exam preparation, and I am starting this series with the focus on strategic domain. Other than these domain questions which you see on the YouTube, I also have a detailed guided program to assist in your PfMP journey. In case you need assistance and want to shorten the time needed to get PfMP certification, you can consider exploring and enrolling to our online program. In our program, I have a 50 question dedicated test prepared for each domain. So they cover all possible things one can ask on that particular domain, because overall PfMP content is not that much wide. So if you do these 50 questions for each domain, you get a fair understanding of that particular domain. On top of that, I also have a full-length mock test in the program. We have 2 as of now, and they also covers the complete coverage which you can expect in your final PfMP exam. The full-length test matches the number of questions you get in your PfMP exam, whereas a domain test, 50 question each, ensures they are more than what you get in the exam for each domain, but they ensures that you develop a good, deep understanding about that particular domain. So let's start talking about strategic domain, and so that we can also look into the 10 questions from strategic alignment area. So from a PfMP perspective, I believe this is one of the easiest domain. Most of the candidate will score above target in strategic related area. It is basically focusing on that as a portfolio management manager, I need to understand what is my organization strategy. So I study the organization strategic plan, I understand organization strategic direction, I probably interview and talk to the senior stakeholders. So I understand what my company is looking at. And after understanding the strategy, I make sure in my portfolio, whatever we do, we are advancing the organization strategy. So based on organization strategy, I create a portfolio level strategy, which is also called portfolio strategy plan. And in order to implement that portfolio level strategy, we get into the details. So I create documents like portfolio charter, portfolio roadmap, and later on portfolio management plan. And throughout the portfolio life, I ensure that we remain aligned to organizational strategy, and that is the whole idea of strategic alignment. Now, many times when people come from project management background and they start learning portfolio, they may think this is like a kind of we start the portfolio and after that we don't have to revisit it. So say portfolio is a ongoing thing. From a PMI perspective, they still consider it as a temporary, because it is not like it will survive till the time organization is running, but it is going to be 10-year, 15-year kind of lifetime. So we initiate the portfolio, and after initiation, we keep realigning and re-strategizing it. Yeah. So don't consider the strategic alignment and strategic related topics are one time. You can think like this: oh, I may start a new portfolio, and every year my organization revisits the strategy. Some company revisits every 2 years, and they come up with a new direction, new priorities. And once they communicate that to me, we need to revisit and align everything which we do in our portfolio as per that particular strategy. So that's a strategic domain. During the year of execution, where the strong restructuring is not happening, there is a possibility, because of some enterprise drivers or external drivers, we have to change our strategy because organization is changing their strategy. Then managing strategic change is also part of your strategic alignment related domain. So if you get this idea clearly and you practice the content with the help of our detailed mock test, you should be scoring above target in your strategic domain topic. Now, before I get into the questions, I can quickly show you the tasks which you should be considering when you are preparing for this particular domain. So I am hoping that you have an awareness that all PMI certificate are guided by something called exam content outline. And for PfMP certification, you also have an exam content outline, and it tells 5 domains are there. And the first domain, which is our focus for this particular video, is a strategic alignment. This particular exam content outline also tells you what is expected in this area, and also tells you how much percentage of the real exam will be of focusing on this particular domain. So strategic alignment gives you 25% of your exam related questions, and it focuses on things like, you evaluate the organization strategy and you make sure that we are aligned to it. You create a prioritization model which is as per the organization expectations and strategy. You make sure that when we are ranking the items, ranking the priorities, we consider appropriate agreement among the stakeholder, and we have an objective way of evaluating how should we prioritize things. It is all about making sure you may have a existing work going on you are thinking about new components. You create a portfolio which advances the organization strategy. You as a portfolio management manager review various possible scenarios, and you recommend things which aligns and advances organization strategy, and you ensure that you present your recommendation to the governance group so that they can take a decision, and you make sure that continuously you remain aligned. And you also prepare something called roadmap, which shows the sequence, dependency, and how are you going to achieve the organization strategy. Now these tasks, some of them we will revisit as a part of our 10 question thing, but I just wanted to make sure that you are aware. And if you study these 8 tasks well, that itself makes you near ready for your exam. Yeah, you can study the portfolio management standard later, but understanding these 8 tasks directly from ECO itself is good enough to give you a kickstart for your portfolio PfMP certification program. So let's get started with the first 10 question in our PfMP question series. Question number 1, you are initiating a new portfolio aimed at expanding into the Middle East market. While evaluating the proposed components, you need to establish prioritization criteria to determine which initiative provides the greatest organization value. Which of the following set of factors best support portfolio component prioritization? You can expect 2-3 such questions in your real PfMP exam, basically asking you how you prioritize various components in your portfolio. Now, I need to see the options and pick up the one which are looking better. But in general, I focus on a term called strategic alignment, because whenever I am prioritizing, I definitely want to see these components should be advancing the strategy. Then I can see things like financial value, things like regulatory compliances, things like other dependencies. I can think about that. But again, you can memorize these things, but it all depends upon the options comes in front of you. So I recommend such kind of questions you better take care with the help of elimination. So let's see, the simply question is asking out of 4 options, which are considered to be a good criteria for a prioritization criteria or as a prioritization model evaluation point. Let's see. Option A, net financial benefits. So financial point, good. Regulatory environment, regulatory related restrictions, usually a good choice. Strategic fit, great. Yeah, the word strategic fit is usually makes the option great. Let's see option 2. Efficient use of surplus resources, may not be. Yeah, so it is not like I'm prioritizing because I have a people available. Yeah, sometimes you end up doing that, you just want to utilize your people, but in general our strategy for portfolio should not be just focusing on making my people busy. I am more focused on making more money for my organization or more benefits for my organization, if you just want to quantify benefits in other way. So the first thing, efficient use of surplus resources in option B is not that great. ROI, great. The degree of interdependencies amongst component, dependency is a good idea. But since I already have a 1 negative point, I can consider B as a not relevant. Attaining global recognition, maybe brand value is there, but not that great. Political environment of the country, I do consider the environmental factor, but specifically focusing on political environment of the country as a criteria may not be relevant. Market entry barrier, it may get reflected in my ROI calculation that what is the entry barrier for various things, but it is not a specific a thing. It may be relevant. So option C is very wide, open-ended, so we can easily ignore it. We already have a good option A. We are looking for if we get something better than A. Option D, regulatory environment, looks good. Management preference, may not be good. Net financial benefit looks good. Yeah. So in option D, the management preference, definitely I want to consider management view, but the management preference I want to see rather than just a management preference, strategic alignment. Yeah. So the difference between A and D is the management preference versus strategic fit. So strategic fit makes it more objective and clear that yes, I need to see which particular component is more strategic fit rather than which component management prefers. So that way I can easily go with option A in this particular case, and I can say yes, this is the right answer. As I usually say, you may have a difference of opinion. You may say, no, I'm not in agreement with it. No problem. We can discuss it as a part of your comment area in this video. And there could be a few questions where we may not agree, and still you will do great in your exam. So this is the type of question you can expect in your PfMP exam. Now, there is a key also to navigate these kind of questions. If you look at portfolio management standard usually the third edition, you will find some statements which talks about what are the good ideas, what are the good things you should consider while you are doing prioritization. So you can take a reference from there. And similarly, you also get a good indicator from exam content outline of PMI for PfMP exam. You can take ideas from there. So for example, the strategic domain task 2 tells identify prioritization criteria example. Now here it's an example. Yeah, but these examples are expected to give you a right answer. Yeah, you can, in a real world, you can have something more as well. But when you are comparing, if something is coming from this area, they are easy to mark as a right option. So this way you can find the answer for these questions. In general, you can apply your experience as well. But if you have an understanding of portfolio standard as well as ECO, then things becomes faster for your real exam. Okay, question number 2. You are a portfolio manager. You are working to better align your effort with the newly revised set of organizational goal. As a part of this transition, the organization intend to discontinue certain component across multiple portfolios. Yeah, which of the following actions should you take to determine which component should be discontinued? So overall, it is still focusing on how do you identify what to advance and what to reduce. So in general, it is pretty much connected to the previous question because we need to find out what kind of criteria we should use to rank our portfolio components. Yeah. The context which this question is giving is a managed strategic change. So it's like that you already were doing things and now there is a directional change and you are bringing your portfolio back on track by way of analyzing the changes which you have seen in your organization. So overall, we are finding out which component to drop. So this is something we need, what kind of criteria we can use. Let's see. So perform change analysis and update the risk register. Yeah, so I probably need to identify. So I need to take an action to identify which component should be discontinued. And me doing change analysis, not a bad idea, but updating risk register, yeah, looks little slow. Yeah, risk register is something not directly connectable. Let's see option B. Perform a cost benefit analysis and include the result as a part of organizational process asset. I can do cost benefit analysis, yeah, but actually it is not an issue of per component. It's an issue of we bringing our portfolio back as per the strategic alignment. So I probably want to see some higher level action rather than just component level analysis. Second, the result of cost benefit analysis I put into organization process asset, that also looks little odd because my portfolio is still going on. So why should I put it as a lesson learned or a historical data for the future organization level use? Let's see if we get something better. Perform strategic alignment analysis, looks good, and include the result as a part of portfolio process asset, looks better. So see, portfolio process asset is something, whatever you do in a portfolio to take care of their direction, decisions, documentation, everything, all the artifacts which you create in your portfolio is a part of portfolio process asset. So that way it is easy. But basically the first part we are focusing on is perform strategic alignment analysis. That's a good idea and I can definitely keep it as a part of my portfolio learning. Perform readiness analysis and update the portfolio roadmap. Now see, here is the key. Now some of you might be preparing for your PfMP exam, by way of memorizing input-output tools and techniques. And there is nothing wrong about that. But at the same time, just doing memorization and not understanding the context can put you in a trouble. Now, why I started speaking like this? So say this question is focusing on managed strategic change. In a managed strategic change, or maybe you can say it's a managed strategic change at some level, and some level it could be revisiting the strategy itself. So you can call it as a develop a portfolio strategic plan. Yeah, so something in between, not very clearly said, but you say, we need to come up with a strategic direction to find out how do we handle it. Makes some sense. Now, if you are just remembering, in a managed strategic change, we have a tool and technique called gap analysis, readiness analysis. And in a managed strategic change, I will update the portfolio roadmap. If you think like that, you probably select the option D. Yeah, and say, this is something I will do. I will do a readiness assessment, and then I will update the portfolio roadmap. But you also need to revisit and say, in a managed strategic change, you have a steps that you do stakeholder engagement, you talk to them, you interview, you understand what is happening. Then you focus on where we are and where we want to go. You look at various possibility and you do gap analysis. And then you reach to a readiness assessment so that you can tell this is how we are going to achieve it. Now here, the question is asking, as a part of transitioning, the organization intend to discontinue some of the component, and you should be taking the action which leads you to identify which component should be discontinued. Yeah. So first you need to understand the strategy, the gap. Yeah. First you need to talk to the stakeholder, then understand the strategy, then identify the gap, and then talk about how are you going to do it. It's a sequence of things. So C and D both looks relevant. It is just like D comes later, C comes first. Yeah. And that's a style you will get in your PfMP exam, where for a same process, two techniques which are relevant for that particular process may be visible as an option. But if you apply your understanding of those techniques, the question gets very easy. If you just try to remember the techniques and the process, then sometime it can trap you into the wrong answers. Yeah. So here again, we can argue, we can discuss, but this is the answer. Perform strategic alignment analysis and include the results into your some places, and then you continue working on it at a later stage. Yeah. So you come up with a gap analysis thing. You will definitely use roadmap to visualize as is and to be state. And then you will do a readiness assessment, and then you will communicate and then move forward as per the revised roadmap. Yeah. So this is something you will do. This is a question which is more mapping to a task 7. Impact of the portfolio and portfolio component due to change in the organization goals and the objective. And you need to sustain strategic alignment. Yeah. This gets very, very easy once you start practicing a little bit. PfMP exam is pretty much based on experience, based on common sense. You can get it. I know many times people end up delaying it just to try to memorize each and every input-output from Portfolio Management Standard 3. Awareness is needed. Memorization is not that deeply needed. I know many practice questions ask you which of the 2 or which of the 3 inputs are relevant here, and you need to critically see that. Very, very unlikely those questions coming in the exam. Overall understanding and elimination helps you in getting things done. Question number 3. You are a portfolio manager. The portfolio has been in existence for 3 years and recently underwent a strategic review. After the portfolio charter was revised and approved, okay, a significant group within the organization begins questioning the purpose and value of the portfolio. What should you do? How should you respond? Okay, so this question is indicating the portfolio strategic plan creation is not a one-time job. You have to update. A develop portfolio strategic plan is something you keep doing, and this is saying that is done. And you have also developed the portfolio charter or revisited the portfolio charter. That is also done. Now, after presenting the charter to some stakeholders saying, what is this? Why are you doing it? Yes, that is the situation. So how do I communicate back? What should I do in this situation? That's the question. Okay, option A, demonstrate how the portfolio align with the organization strategic goals and objective. So in general, whenever something is coming that you need to talk about alignment, you start putting that option as a possibly a right option. Yeah. So as soon as I see, you need to see how it will align to a strategic alignment, I will say, probably this is right. Let's see. Option B, conduct a portfolio component inventory analysis and share the ROI of each component. Too detailed. Yeah. And again, stakeholder may not understand it. First, it might be a very confidential thing to do that at that much detail to the stakeholders who are not in agreement. And ROI is not the only thing. There could be other areas also which helps you in deciding which component has to be taken first, yeah, or what is the priority and why we are selecting it. So I probably need to talk about my portfolio prioritization model rather than just talking about ROI. If this question option talks about prioritization model, probably that start making sense, that I will explain my prioritization model. Yeah, that could have been a good option. So option B is not making sense. Perform capability and capacity analysis to explain the limitation and reasoning for not selecting some components. So it's like, rather than explaining the priority and strategic alignment, I'm getting, we don't have enough people. They can't handle this. They don't have competencies. Sometimes you see people doing that, but that should not be the starting point. When stakeholders are asking why we are doing it, I should not be focusing on my limitations. I need to focus on what is important, and with a limited resource, why we are doing that, the thing which is important. Yeah. So I need to agree on importance first. Rather than you saying, the stakeholder will say, whenever I talk about my initiative, you talk about all these limitations. Yeah, for others' initiative, these limitations are not valid. Then again, I am getting in a loop. So I don't get into option C. Option D, invite the charter approving authority to present their rationale to the stakeholders. Possible thing you can do. Yeah, that's the possibility. But in general, I should be able to handle it myself. Why need to invite senior people and says, guys, why don't you come and explain what we have done and why we have approved this particular direction and this particular charter so that everybody listens to you? Yeah. Now, if the question indicates that you have explained everything and people are still not getting it, then I may want to bring some senior guy to speak what I am speaking so that the buy-in is high, possible. But in this case, the question is not showing that much problem. I should be able to handle it. So I should go with option A. I need to demonstrate how the portfolio aligns with the organization's strategic goal and objective. The other good option could be that I explain about the prioritization model. I explain how prioritization model help us in achieving organization strategy. Those all options will be good in this particular scenario. Yeah. And see, if you get these questions right, though they look few, but they will set the path forward for many questions in your PfMP exam. Now, this can be mapped to task 1, evaluating the organization's strategic goals and reviewing the documents and collecting the idea and ensuring that we remain aligned to that particular area. Question number 4. So you are managing the technology portfolio in the middle of the year. AI technology has advanced significantly and many new products have been launched. After performing a gap analysis, you want to present the modified sequence of portfolio component, their dependency, and how well they align with updated strategic direction. Which portfolio artifact should you use? Looks like very simple, straightforward question, but such questions will come in the exam. Yeah. So what is the context? This context is saying you are doing managing strategic change. Yeah. You have revisited, you have done a gap analysis, you are ready with the preparation, you want to present things. Yeah, you are ready with your proposed solution. How do you present it? Yeah, that's simply the question is asking. Now, the question is also telling whatever you want to present, I want to see these details. So I want to see a sequence of portfolio component, great, their dependencies, and how well they align with the updated strategic direction. Now, I'm sure when you see this dependencies and sequence, you quickly think it's going to be a portfolio roadmap, yeah, the option here. But sometimes people get confused when you see, how it aligns with updated strategic direction. Yeah. So roadmap looks like dependency and milestones and sequence. Where is this strategic direction thing coming in? Now here we need to remember, especially if you are coming from PMP or PGMP kind of background where roadmap is more about that. In a portfolio management, roadmap is expected to have a strategic objective achievement indicator also inside the roadmap. Yeah? So the milestones should show when we are achieving the strategy objective and which strategic objective we are aligning to. So roadmap is expected to show how various sequence components are aligned to strategic direction as well. That's the only thing I wanted to communicate, and that's why I added this question. And the option is clear. Option is portfolio roadmap. In fact, you do have a task in your strategic alignment domain, task 8, last task, which clearly says so. And it tells create a high-level roadmap working with the key stakeholders using prioritization, dependency analysis, and organization constraints, the readiness and other constraints, capability and capacities and all, in order to confirm and communicate the portfolio component sequence, dependency, and strategic alignment. Now, sometimes you see these statements show up in the exam as it is. And one task may show up in a multiple questions because there are limited tasks. You only have a 35 task and you have a 170 questions. So again, my recommendation is not to memorize. And there are not many to memorize as well. But I need to understand the small words which are given in the ECO are useful and they can make me ready for the exam. Same for the standard. Standard, sometimes we have a confusion because there is a standard 3, standard 4 as well. But if you have a deeper understanding of standard 3 and broad understanding of standard 4, you should be able to see how various tasks of exam content outline comes alive. So have an understanding of standard, but see the things from the direction of the ECO. You are good for your exam. Question number 5. You are managing a global service portfolio. Midway through the year, the organization shifted strategy from expansion into a new market to a strengthening customer retention in the existing region. Okay, so we were thinking of entering in a new market. Now we are focusing on let's build a better customer relationship. As the portfolio manager, you need to assess how well the customer current portfolio components support the new objective and what adjustments are required to sustain alignment. Which technique would be most effective to use in this particular situation? So if you're thinking like process ITTO, you can think like that. Nothing wrong about that. So it's a managing strategic change. That's your process. Yes. What we are asking, which of the following tool and technique most effectively can be used when we are managing strategic change? Great. You can go with that. Now, if you see the option, you may see gap analysis and readiness assessment both are there. And in a way, option B also talks about stakeholder power interest grid. Some amount of stakeholder analysis is happening. So B, still we can say it's too much focusing on stakeholder analysis and the question is not focusing on that. We assume it is already done. But how do I decide between C and D? Because both are relevant tools and technique. And here you will get these kind of questions where you can map the process, but still more than one technique coming as an option. I said it before as well. I'm reminding you again as well. Now I need to just apply and see what is the objective of this technique and what is the question is asking. So I go back to the question. So as a portfolio manager, you need to assess how well the current portfolio components support the new objective and what adjustments are needed to sustain the alignment. Now, which analysis helps you in doing this portion? Which tool and technique helps you in doing this portion? That becomes our question rather than just focusing on the process. Now, if you go into detail, you will understand this is the definition of gap analysis. And that's why the option becomes clear. So practice this and things will get easy. So yes, option is C, which is gap analysis. Question number 6. You are managing a financial service portfolio. Due to recent geopolitical change, the financial market have been significantly impacted. This requires a realignment of your portfolio to ensure continued strategic alignment. What should you do? So because of enterprise environmental factor change, you need to do realignment so that you help in advancing the organization strategy. That's something you are doing. So again, we just need to find out which of the following is a good idea to ensure that my portfolio remains aligned to the changes which are happening in the surrounding area and we achieve the strategic objective. Let's see the option. Document the geopolitical change and ask the governance group for the guidance. Possible, but see, my idea as a portfolio is not to tell this is happening and tell me what should I do. The mindset of a portfolio is I am the one who will do detailed analysis, trend analysis, and then I will come up with a recommendation. But ultimately those recommendation has to be approved by the appropriate authority. Yeah. Now, in some part of the authority might be lying on me also. Yeah. If that question is clearly indicating that you are also an authority to approve something. But in general, I believe that there is a governance group. Yeah. But I am not saying, guys, I will just tell you what is happening so that you can decide what should we do. And that is not the case here. So I skip the option A, perform a gap analysis and adjust the portfolio by deleting some components and adding other. So say it's a part of your strategic alignment or manage strategic change a thing. You can definitely do a gap analysis. But the idea, which is little careful, and if I don't get any other option, I probably choose that. But I would say that I may not be able to decide adding, deleting on my own. I need to take an approval on that in general. So that's the only missing piece here, because it is directly saying me, you do it, you fix the portfolio, you are the boss. I may not be. Yeah. Okay, option C, recommend portfolio scenarios and related component based on prioritization analysis criteria to the governance board for decision making. That looks good. Yeah. So the difference between B and C, yeah, it is the B was using a keyword gap analysis to catch me and make me choose something wrong. Yeah. The C has not purposefully used that particular catchword, but it is saying, you will recommend the various alternatives and you will go to the management and ask what should we do. Let's see. Yeah. Now, option D, ask project managers to revisit the business case of their component and resubmit them to a governance group. Looks very, I'm delegating a critical work to the project managers only, and rather than doing my job. Yeah, this is, I should do. I can't say, project managers, you need to save your own project. So come up with a new business case and present it to the management, and only the business case which will get approved will keep it. In some organization, it happens, but not a ideal thing in general. So I can fairly choose option C. Yeah, others are also possible things, but I need to come up with recommendation. I need to do my job, and then I need to take approval from the governance group. Now, incidentally, this exactly matches to the ECO task. And I am just trying to show you how you can catch up the language, and you will see them in the exam also. Task 6, recommend portfolio scenarios and related component based on prioritization analysis criteria in order to provide governance with the rationale for decision making. Yeah? So it could happen as an initial stage, it can happen as a change stage. Whenever something is happening, you need to go to the governance group and take the appropriate approval. You need to recommend it. Question number 7. You are an experienced portfolio manager. Great. Your organization has reached consensus on its strategic goal, but there is no agreement on how these goals should be achieved or whether current activities are aligned with them. Okay. After reviewing the current portfolio, the portfolio management plan and component report, what should be your first action? Okay. Now here it's a little interesting stuff. So the question is giving you many indicators. Question is saying, strategic agreement is there. The portfolio is ongoing. Yeah, the question is also indicating you have a current portfolio. You also have a portfolio management plan, and it is ongoing so that you have a reports also. Yeah, downward reports are also available to you. Yeah, so some amount of oversight and information is also there. Now, what will you do after looking at all this? Yeah, that is the question. So I definitely need to do something which matches with managing strategic change. And I need to come up with some recommendations so that we can update our portfolio management plan, because how part is missing. We need to make people agree on how, because they know about why, what. Yeah, they are clear about the strategy. We need to agree on how are we going to achieve that. That is something I'm looking for. Let's see, it is asking for first action. So I will go a little slow and try to find out what should I do in the initial stage. Option A, use a comprehensive risk analysis on portfolio components. I can do, but component level risk analysis at this stage, not that much relevant. Let's see. Cancel the activities not aligned with the organizational portfolio roadmap. Yeah, possible, but too hurry. Perform a gap analysis to recommend an optimized portfolio. Looks good. Yeah, I'm understanding, because I get a current state of the portfolio by looking at this. Yeah, I got a future state of the portfolio by looking at the strategy. So I need to come up with the various possible scenarios which can help us in reaching there. So I can do a gap analysis and come up with the recommendation. Review the portfolio management plan for the next business cycle. Yeah, that looks like a generic one. You will review, but I'm looking for action. Yeah. So in this particular case, also the question gets simple, and you need to do your gap analysis to make sure you come up with a recommendation which bring us back into the alignment. Yeah. So option C can be a good things. Now again, determine the impact of a portfolio and portfolio component due to change in the strategic goals and objective in order to sustain a strategic alignment. That's the task, and you know that it is mapping to manage strategic changes. Question number 8. Your portfolio has just launched a new, your organization has just launched a new portfolio. As the portfolio manager, you are evaluating how each proposed component support the organization's strategic objective. Ensure that only those aligned initiative move forward. Which technique are you applying? Okay, yeah. So pretty much straightforward. So where we are, yeah, in which process we are. Your organization has just launched a new portfolio, so you're in initial stage, yeah, defining, or you can call it initiating. So defining groups in case of portfolio standard 3 language, initiating in the language of 4. As a portfolio manager, you are evaluating each component to support the organization strategic objective. So what are you doing? You are preparing portfolio strategy plan. Portfolio strategic plan, that is something you are doing here. Yeah, you can connect, because you do take inventory of work as an input, you take a strategy as an input, and it is also giving you an idea that you are in a new space. Yeah, even if it could be a revisit also. So there, now here they are asking, now you also want to ensure only those portfolio components should be picked up which are aligned to the strategic initiatives. Yeah, so I need to pick up the tools and technique from portfolio strategic, develop portfolio strategic plan. That's a process. Now catch is, all these 3 tools and techniques are valid. Yeah, you do talk about portfolio component inventory there, you talk about strategic alignment analysis there, and you talk about prioritization analysis, which is a prioritization model there. Yeah, so the same trap which I shared you with you before, a same process, but more than one tool and technique coming as an option. So say if you only get a one tool and technique which is coming from develop portfolio strategic plan, then question gets easy. Now I am focusing on strategic alignment, and that is something come from strategic alignment analysis. So I should be doing strategic alignment analysis, because the question is asking how each proposed component support the organization's strategic objective. Yeah, so because of this statement, I am selecting option B. Yeah. Question number 9. You are creating the portfolio strategic plan for a newly formed portfolio. To align the portfolio's direction to the organization strategy, obviously, you need to determine what component should be included in the initial portfolio inventory. How should you proceed? Yeah. So the idea here is they are saying that you want to take some input so that you can have inventory of work. So how can you identify inventory of work when you are creating the portfolio strategic plan? That's the question. Yeah. So option A, identify existing and potential portfolio component by reviewing business plans and proposal. Not a bad idea. Looks good. Ask stakeholders to recommend what kind of component they want to see. I can ask, yeah, but it's my job, and stakeholder may give me some random thoughts as well. Yeah, so I need to be a little systematic. Yeah, I can just ask, what all you need, and then I start. I probably can see what is the going on, what is the strategic objective, what are the proposals, and based on that we move forward. Yeah, create a component using your own judgment about what is needed next. I can apply my expert judgment, but I need to see little systematic data to apply my expert judgment. Yeah, look for enterprise environmental factor and organization process assets to understand what should be done. You can look scenario, market situation, geopolitical situation, compliance situation, which can give you some indicator. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. So say all elements has something which can give you an indicator, but I need to look for little more clear systematic approach to create my inventory of work. And in order to do that, if I have this situation, I try to match the language of ECU. Yeah. So I need to follow what is written in the ECU so that it becomes straightforward. Yeah. So yes, I need to identify potential component by reviewing the business plans and proposal, because that is there in task 4 in your strategic alignment domain. Identify existing and potential portfolio component by reviewing business documentation such as business plan proposals in order to create portfolio scenarios. Yeah, so I need to use this statement. Others also has a value, but when it comes to close choices, I stick to something which goes systematic and which is more aligned to exam content outline. Yeah, so that's the answer. Good news, final question for this particular section. Yeah, for your strategic alignment domain. Question number 10. You are developing the portfolio strategic plan. After 3 rounds of discussion with the stakeholders, it has been difficult to reach to an agreement on the prioritization model. Some stakeholders arguing that regulatory compliance should be weighted more heavily, while others insist market growth must take precedence. The disagreement is dealing the progress on the finalizing the portfolio strategic direction. How should you move forward? Yeah, that's the question. Yeah. So the process is clear. You need to apply some systematic model so that people can agree and they can have some ranking system. That is something we are looking for. Yeah. So let's see option A. Select the criteria you believe is the most appropriate. Yeah. My belief should be based on some facts and figures rather than I just apply expert judgment until unless nothing comes valid in the option. So I ignore it. Escalate the disagreement to the governance board and make them make a final decision. Very easy to ignore. Yeah. So you don't escalate, you escalate with recommendation until unless something is coming so much which clearly shows that you are giving up. Yeah. In a portfolio exam, you are always expected to provide recommendations and handle these kind of conflict as much as possible at your own level. Option C, work with the key stakeholders and apply both qualitative and quantitative analysis to evaluate and rank priorities. Looks good. Yeah. You can say I can use qualitative and quantitative analysis so that this agreement can become better. Great. Yeah, we can put some model. We could have made more better option, but this looks okay. Yeah. Ask each stakeholder group to submit their preference list of priorities and average the results. Yeah, so that becomes a prioritization model in a way. But until unless we agree on it, how can I apply this prioritization model? Yeah, so out of 4, because we need to choose 1 out of 4. That's the easy job. I need to choose C because that makes things little clear. Incidentally, there is a task also. Yeah, in your strategic alignment domain, you have a task. What it tells, task 3, and it clearly tells rank strategic priorities working with the key stakeholders using qualitative and quantitative analysis in order to provide guiding framework to operationalize and the organization the organization strategic goals and objectives. So you know that this is something I can easily pick, and it also makes pretty common sense when we look at the options as well, because we can eliminate others. Yeah. So this was our first video on your PfMP exam preparation questions. So we will add another set of questions for each domain, and we will continue the sequence because we have covered 10 here. Next, we will start with question number 11. If you need any assistance for filling the PfMP application or getting ready with the help of guided content, you can connect with us. We do have a proper program to assist your PfMP journey.